time. So who has number one? You wanted to go back, Pat?
Yeah, I was on the zoning commission for the city, and I was looking at the chart, and you showed one place where you said there's a drop off, but I didn't see that you continue on the street. So will you back up? Oh, so you drop off and back up, and what do you back up into?
Go back to the exit.
There's two issues, just as far, three issues as far as the building goes.
Speak up because I'm a little hard of hearing that. I'm sorry.
Okay, Mrs. Johnson.
Well, I admit it.
All right. Just as far as the building goes, the three issues that just kind of jumped out at me as having worked with projects like this are reviewed. There's a drop off and you can't continue, so you have to back up down the street. Now, where do you back up onto? What roadway?
I think what we would do is we would, well, you would need to back all this way. There's actually, you can actually back here and this is a two-way.
Well, you back up onto,
You back into this.
which I think is very problematic, if you have people that want to drop off. So I think that's something that really should be addressed. I think.
That they will have to back up. instead of turn
Yeah,
around.
absolutely. Now, the
circle, do a circle there.
Right here.
At the front.
There's not maybe a pulling driveway. There's a,
I think it should be reworked. I think it's bad lit, personally.
think about that, okay?
Now, where is the trash rail?
That's right in this area here. There's a trash room right about here.
And where does the truck come and pick it
Oh,
up?
okay, actually, could you go back to the site plan or? Yeah.
Forward.
Or yeah, that's good. So the truck would come down this lane. This is a two-way.
What street is that, Midland?
This is the Midland Street, right? So
Now-
you'd be coming off of Second New Way.
Oh, okay.
Down, and then there's a loop here.
Okay.
Where you turn around, and then the trash truck would come here, stop, and then back in to, there's a big,
No, I get that.
It's all
But my
like that.
issue was that there is, I don't know if you guys are ever down there, the Glazer has huge bed trucks. Probably, I don't know how many feet long they are. So something would have to be worked out with them because you would not, you would be major issues. You want to have the trash come and drop and leave. You don't want to have to deal with a company that is in the adjacent
you mean right
building.
here?
Yeah, right there.
Yeah, no, this
So
would
that-
be, this maneuver would be, the truck
We had
would
talked,
just
right, but
go
we
over there and then back in, and then back
as
into
long
right
as,
out.
as long as
Yeah,
there
it
was
wouldn't
no.
stay parked in any of those
I'm
locations.
talking about your butters.
Right there.
They
Right
stay parked there. You can see it on some of your pictures.
Yes, yeah.
They
and
do
have
stay
parking
parked
right
there,
here,
so
right?
you'll, that's an
But
issue.
this lane is actually outside of where they, you know, I don't know
Well,
how
if you
far
look
they're
on-
coming down.
Well, if you
It might be
widen,
coming
if
down a
you
little bit
widen
too
it,
far.
okay.
Yeah.
And then the third thing is, I am in the process of selling a property that was changed to NS2. And the fellow wanted to put parking on the first floor. And I contacted the BRA, and they said that absolutely not allowed, it has to be commercial. So I don't know how it fits into this plan.
Is it, what's the rest of the building? Is the rest
It's
of the building
apartments.
housing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just like yours.
Kitty, you wanna?
Well, I mean, I think the
I
answer.
still
from-
have the
we
email
have-
from
yeah,
the
we-
BRA.
We have Matt Waller's interpretation. First
Well,
off,
he could call the guy I talked to at the BRA.
no, Matt Waller is our attorney.
Right.
We know.
But I do have correspondence from them stating that it can't, it just, you know,
Well,
I think that we want to
I think
discuss
the
the laws in
reality-
the design and construction.
But the
It's
real-
not just about, you know, I do just want to hear what
Well,
we
I
have to
think,
say.
but the reality is, around zoning, it is our real estate attorney's, opinion based on
Right.
reading of the code,
Yep.
that parking is allowed there, and it's ultimately not the BRA that is going to determine this. The whole process is that the developers will have to submit to the buildings department, the inspectional services department, a set of plans, a preliminary set of plans that will be used by the plan examiners at ISD to determine whether or not the project is in compliance with zoning.
Right.
So we have had preliminary discussions with a plan examiner at ISD who has not raised that as an issue. Ultimately, you know, all we're saying is
Well,
that.
it's a long time on a discussion on something that, you know, I just wanted. And the other thing I wanted to know, in the paperwork that I originally received from you, it had the units, and is there a floor and a ceiling on the income?
No, the ceiling is established by law.
So they cannot make any more
Right.
than,
The
but can
floor
they make
is-
much less?
The floor is basically a management standard that essentially, and this is something that I believe the Fair Housing Commission endorses, that a tenant, an applicant that whose income, who would have to pay more than 40% of their income would be considered basically a financial risk. Because
And they wouldn't be able to get, like,
They wouldn't
they
be.
wouldn't be able to get subsidized rent. They couldn't get a section.
they would not be admitted because, yeah, no, I mean, initially, no, somebody's income could go down, but in terms of,
No, I mean, could
In
they
terms
have a
of
Section
selection.
8 certificate
oh,
and get an apartment?
if you have a Section 8 certificate,
That doesn't affect your
that
income.
doesn't affect,
Oh.
that doesn't
All right.
affect it. Yeah.
Thank
You will be accepting Section 8.
Hmm?
You will be accepting Section 8.
We have to accept Section 8. It would be against the law not to. But around tenant selection, the way it is done, and Pat, I think you would know about this, is that the developers have to do very broad marketing all over the city, a lot of outreach, and applications are made available, and there is basically a deadline for applications. This is at the initial.
It depends on the type of projects that you're running, yeah.
Right. And then, and after the applicants are screened, you know, for income, everybody is put into a lottery. It's not first come, first served. There's a lottery. Everybody who is eligible, including the Section 8 applicants, with vouchers, gets thrown into the lottery, just like the thing you see on TV. And they're picked, and I think it's usually somebody from the Fair Housing Commission that inducts. You've done them, so inducts them. So yes, there will be Section 8 voucher applicants, but they will have no more chance of being selected than any other
And I
applicant.
mentioned that only because I didn't know if there was a floor and a ceiling.
The floor is more, the floor is an, what's the word, a sanctioned tenant selection policy.
Thank you.
Question 2 is Rita.
How many parkings have you set aside for handicapped? I haven't
Three.
heard you mention.
Three.
Okay.
Yeah, I have mostly a comment, but I have some questions for you. I was reading your brochure on the internet, the one of you submitted.
The application.
And you said that you are gonna be a tax benefit property or something, a tax something property, correct?
Part of the financing, I'm not sure what you were reading, is what is called federal low-income housing tax credits. Is that what
Tax
you're
credit,
referring to?
okay. Now, isn't it, with a tax credit property, at least 40% of the units have to be very low-income units? So you're saying you're gonna have three very low-income units?
No. At least 40% have to be very low-income units, which is defined as 60% of the median income. So those maximum incomes that you see under the working families categories, those are the current maximum incomes allowed in the tax credit program.
Right. So when you're telling, or maybe you, I read in the newspaper that somebody presented something to a group, and from your group, I don't know if it was you or someone else, and they said there were only gonna be 3 very low income units, when in fact.
Extremely low income.
3 extremely low, when in fact there have to be at least 40%.
No, once again, the law is that at least 40% of the units in a tax credit project have to be at the limits of what we're showing is the maximum for working families. We have more than 40% of our units. We have 21 out of 27. I can't do the math.
That's the hard you do, that you definitely do, and that's the whole point, is that you're
Yes,
bringing in a high concentration of poverty, ergo a high concentration of crime.
Well, all right, well.
Every time you look where there's a high concentration of poverty, you have a high concentration
Well,
of crime. And
first
this-
off, I think what we're saying, and we're saving this part for questions. All right, I think I answered your question, and maybe we can go to, and then
All right,
you can express those views when we shut up.
Who's got 4? 4?
Quick question, this is for the architect regarding quality of, you mentioned quality of the apartment and the units. Are you looking at any accreditation designations for this building, LEED, or any of that?
Well, because it's built house and city money in it, we're gonna have to LEED silver, which is sort of, there's a baseline LEED, and then there's LEED bronze and silver and gold and platinum, which is very top. So the silver is kind of in the middle of that, and it's a process where the various city agencies kind of check. We don't necessarily have to go through the USGBC, which administers the actual LEED program. We're not going through them, but we'll go through the city, and we'll meet the same criteria. So it'll be LEED certifiable, that's what we're calling it. So it could be certified if we really wanted it to be, but it will meet the same criteria. That's what the city requires us to do at that silver level.
And second question, I know this is thinking down the road, but any thought from Southwest about making sure the project, you're looking to hire Boston workers, so folks from here, Boston, contractors here from Boston, workers
Yeah,
here
I
from
mean,
Boston?
first off, the project is going to be subject to the Boston hiring requirements, which are goals that Mark may need to help me. 50%. Boston resident jobs policy. Boston resident jobs policy. To my partners. Okay, so can you, what was that, who said that?
50% Boston residents, 25% people of color, and 10%
Women. Right.
Sorry, that was Tim McCarthy.
Yes. Well, I'm glad our city councilor is right on top of it. And we will, certainly, Codman Square NDC, our partner, has had tremendous successful experience in the many projects that they have done in exceeding those goals. And a number of the Boston CDCs are also, have signed onto a pact with the Minority General Contractors Association to really try to increase local and minority hiring. So we expect to be pushing to exceed the Boston resident jobs policy requirements.
Has Southwest signed on to that similar?
What was that?
Have you Southwest signed on to the similar?
I don't think Southwest has, because currently it doesn't have any relationships with general contractors. This is going to be the first one, but that will certainly be coming up.
Okay, now survey number 5.
Thanks. I'm gonna take advantage. I gotta get these two home and showered and to bed. But so I had one quick question, which is the lot on the far side. What's the access to the building to the right? On the,
They
come around the
They
back side.
have no access
Okay.
here.
All right.
They don't, that's blocked, that's, their, basically their property line, goes almost up to the tracks. And their access into their site is through, Walter Street. So they would have no access, and we're not planning to give them access to the.
I just didn't know where that
one.
one. And then because I do have to get them out of here, I just wanted to say one thing I said sort of at the neighborhood association a few weeks ago. Like, in my opinion, it's not perfect, but I don't think anybody's claiming it's perfect. There's questions about parking, there's questions about traffic, there's already traffic issues, already parking issues. But the way I look at it is looking at it in the context of the whole neighborhood. And what do we want in the neighborhood? If someone's gonna come in and take what's basically an abandoned lot and invest in the neighborhood, invest in jobs in the city, 50% in the city, thank you, Tim. To me, that's, a lot of the questions will come out during the review process and so on. That's maybe, I'm not an expert in any of this, not an expert in much, but just trying to, yeah, well, no, I'm far from an expert in that. But to me, I think it's, if you're looking at what do we want the neighborhood to be, and we're looking to invest in the neighborhood and hopefully keep some of the businesses that keep closing open a little bit. This isn't a silver bullet, but that's my opinion. Is let's let the process go on and see how it develops.
And it's only because you have to leave that
That's right,
we're
special
breaking our rule.
You get the right number. 6 is our number.
I have a couple of questions. One's a repeat question, and as you're allowing commentary tonight, I'll save that for later.
Yes, thank you.
Appreciate it. Up in the front, the question was asked, and do we all agree? I heard the architects pointing to floor 1, that they're going to have 27 parking spots. Do you agree?
Yes.
Right. That's floor 1. Okay. I don't know why your attorney, now the attorney's been presenting this over a month ago. I don't know why he's having a tough time interpreting Article 69. Vehicle uses, parking garage.
It's an accessory use to the residential and it's permitted.
Parking, vehicle uses, table B, subsection parking garage. Look across under NS2, A, allowed. Catch the footnote above, 27. Do read the footnote. Footnote says, 1, underground. 2, under certain circumstances, above the ground level. Otherwise forbidden. That otherwise forbidden is referring to floor 1. You'll allow it to build underground, perhaps above the ground level, but not 1. And there's a reason why that was said, because we talked about this for over 2 years.
Mr. Martin,
Yep.
you're making a comment now, and let's let the people who have questions that we can
Okay,
answer.
I'll do the question. I thought we were going to assist you. I'll wait till later to assist you. The second question: reading your application for Article 8, the drawing you have from your architect. I'm looking at the North Street side, which I guess we call it maybe the back side, and the Midland Street side, we call it the front side. I'm seeing a roof line that says, and it always said, the roof line shows me 44 feet 6 inches on both sides. What am I reading wrong? I'm seeing 44 foot 6 inches roof line. That's the word they use. Is that not the roof height?
I can address that. Yeah, but we are meeting the 40-foot maximum.
I heard you say that.
Right, as defined by what building height is in the zoning code, and that is, if you have a building fronting a street, or in our case, 2 streets, what you take is the average grade elevation of both of those streets, and then that average grade becomes the baseline, and you can do 40 feet above that. So roughly speaking, we have a 10-foot difference about between Knott Street and Midland. So we're allowed to have our average grade be in the center of that. So we're at 44 point something. And so that's our 40 feet from the average grade.
Okay, the general code tells you to average out in between the two streets. Do you average out the two streets?
Yes.
Okay, I'll check that later. Thank you.
Thanks for the system.
Yeah, sorry, hang on one moment.
I just wanted to also speak to the garage issue. So I just wanted to speak to the garage issue briefly too, and that in table B, under main uses, vehicular uses, parking garage as a main use is allowed with those footnotes. However, our contention is the project is not the main use, so that's why it doesn't apply. And later on in table B, under accessory uses, accessory parking is allowed. So that's what we're saying, the parking is accessory to the main use, it's not the main use.
That's the heart of the.
It's not the main use.
Housing is the
Housing
main
is the
use.
main.
And parking is just.
Parking is for the residents. It's not a commercial garage. So what you need to understand is, we are not proposing a commercial garage. The garage is not going to be a source of income. So the parking is for the residents of the building. And that's what makes it an accessory use. I think what the zoning code, and you probably know it better than I do, but I think that their intention was to regulate commercial garages. And that was, I think, how our attorney and the architects came to the conclusion. And this, again, was discussed with a plan examiner at ISD. So that is our reading of the zoning code.
Can I ask you a question?
No, in order, and then after we go through all the numbers.
Put me in the queue.
Having run many a meeting, this is a wonderful system. First, I mean, I should have done it years ago. A quick comment. Willing to be here tonight. I'm into my 90s, finally admitting it. But this is a continuation of this is not a dying community, and even though I got a letter said that, it's going up, and always changing since I came here in '65. Thank God black people can walk down my streets without police cars coming, which is what happened then, burned houses. So, the end of the oration, our present Pioneer Company was responsible for the first affordable when we fought by the conservatives here on Pierce. Now, I don't see.
I don't know, are people aware
All
of
right.
that?
Are you aware on Pierce that the
biggest
first
CDC?
affordable was in 1980 under Bob Consalvo and myself, who I never could get along with. Rob was one of my best friends. All right, conservatives and particularly and back and forth, not many, we didn't have a black at a meeting, but now, thank God, dark-skinned person. Here we are, 2013. The things I want to say, congratulations for being here and continue these things. And the Ponset River needs to be cleaned up. So, the question, I know you want the question. You'll get the question. A comment first, the two comments. One, on parking. I want to ask, of course, it's not to do directly with this. Is there any plans, and I think I wouldn't support it fully, unless there's going to be within 5 years some, not railway, proper off-street parking. What is going on here in off-street parking?
You know, this is a question
Really?
that really needs to
Question,
be resolved through a community planning process. Many people who were here came to a meeting of the BRA Fairmount Planning Initiative, I think it was last March, where we were advocating to establish a committee to do a plan around the Fairmount station. That unfortunately did not happen. I think the CDC is looking to work with other organizations and individuals in the neighborhood to get that kind of a process going so
Not
that
only
these...
should it continue, 20 years ago I sat with Mayor Flynn down here.
Right.
In the 5 years, you have to have some off-street parking. You're going to have all your neighbors complaining about your new place. I'm not kidding you.
Okay.
The second one would be, having lived a while in a nice Section 8 public housing on Hyde Park Avenue, there was a lot of noise. They had no barrier like they had at Malone. How are these poor people going to be somewhat insulated from the noise of the trains? That's the end of my...
We're going to have
They're
triple
gonna have
glazed
to have their
windows
building
and
shaped
other soundproofing
like mine
on that side of the building.
It'll be
And
somewhat
again,
soundproof.
Yes.
yes.
Because at Malone, loan apartments, we never had that problem, but thank God, then I hope some of you get in there.
And that,
Whether you're poor or rich, I hope you get there.
Number 8, you said you have 27 units, correct? And you have 27 parking spots. That's each assigned to a unit.
each available, right, would
They're
be.
gonna be assigned to a unit, whether or not they wanna use it, that's their spot.
Yeah, right.
Now, you said probably 24 spots would be used in there.
Mhm.
And the overflow will go into the MBTA yard on the other side of the tracks?
No. The overflow of what?
Of cars, you said.
Oh, you're
there's
talking
two-
about the cars that
Yes.
MBTA is removing?
Right.
No, the MBTA's position is they're not removing them. They will relocate those spaces if they determine the spaces need to be relocated. Currently, none of those, hardly any of those spaces that are adjoining the property we want to develop and the other property are in fact used by commuters who are paying to use those spaces.
The parking in Fairmount Hill.
Parking the neighborhoods all around there.
Right.
So now, my other part was, I lived in Pierce Street, that area,
Mhm.
and it was a monster. The parking spot where Carmela Pierce has her little spots, everybody went into that when they went to the auto body shop, the repair shop. All the side streets going underneath the bridge and up Fairmount Ave are taken. Where do you think all these people are gonna have their friends and everybody else that goes there? And the 2 cars usually per household, they're gonna go.
Well, where do we think they're going to go? We think they will. There is a lot of on-street parking. And the fact is, that is what the traffic study
We
showed.
counted 169 spaces, 750-foot radius. We went out weekday, midday, we went out weekday evening at 11 o'clock at night. We went out on a Saturday. And in general, there's anywhere from 50
October,
to 70
in October.
vacant spaces. We went on a nice October day.
What about
out
winter
there,
time?
We counted every single space.
What about winter time when it snows?
In general, 1 space per unit is more than appropriate. It's actually double what you're gonna need for a use
You
like
built
this.
all those neighborhoods during the week.
Yeah.
Every one of those streets are all loaded with cars. They
Yeah,
come from all
with
out
the
of
new
town.
flyover.
We went on.
What we try to do is provide an appropriate level for residential apartment use. BTD has a maximum 1 to 1.5 spaces for residential use.
Well, that's a perfect world. Let's say it's an imperfect world. And there's gonna be 2 cars per spot. Most houses being built now have to accommodate 2 cars off-street.
I disagree.
In the city of Boston.
Every house right up the street from there.
In the city
Across
of
the
Boston,
street.
yes, you do. Yeah.
Sir, across the river on Truman Parkway, the apartment building, I think it's 1080, the Garrity building. We went in there, there are a minimum of 60 residential units in there. There are 56 parking spots within the building and on the lots outside. And that is an all market rate building. There are no very low income people living there. This is what is actually being provided in the market around here. And
But you
we
also
are,
went to an area where they're not contending with businesses. That area here is loaded with businesses.
okay, all right.
And what about Georgetown? They're going into the.
No,
Number 9.
You can share these.
Excellent.
Number 9, I'm Joe Smith, Albion Street, professional meeting attendant. I have a question for all of you about the financial viability of Southwest Boston Community Development Corporation.
What's your question?
You have a $7 million project here. You have no investors that I am aware of to date. You have an interim director. You've never disclosed any financial records, which the Fairmount Neighborhood Association would love to see over the last 3 years. You've never disclosed a business plan to anybody in Hyde Park, yet you're looking for us to support you. Well, we don't know who you are financially, economically, and we don't even know why that other building you were suggesting didn't come to fruition. All we have is question marks about who you are and what your future is in this area of the city. And I guess I would like you to answer some questions about who you are financially and whether you are a viable organization without depending upon an organization in Codman Square.
Well-
I really, You have no experience in this arena at all, yet you're proposing to put a $7 million building up in our neighborhood. Help me with that, please.
Well, first off, in terms of experience in the organization as a whole has not developed rental housing. There are many people on our board who have been working in housing and real estate for many, many years. Your interim director here has been in this business for 40 years, okay? My hair is almost the color of yours. There is a lot of experience here. Our financials are available on the internet. You can go onto GuideStar.
I haven't been able to find them, sir. If you can make those available to the Fairmount Neighborhood Association, our analysts would love to review them.
Okay,
Thank you, for the last 3 years.
The financials of the developer is not an appropriate subject of the public review process. The financials of the developer...
The appropriate subject is the question that I ask. And if I think it's appropriate, then it's appropriate.
Well, okay, that's
my...
We're not prepared to make anything available other than what is publicly available.
It's like applying for a mortgage and they ask you how much you make and you say none of your business.
No, when we
that's
apply
ridiculous.
for the mortgage...
Your response was ridiculous.
When we apply for the mortgage, they will ask exactly that. And one of the reasons that we are partnered with the Cotton Square NDC is that they have a very, very strong balance sheet. Our balance sheet is not strong, and the fact is that we would have to partner with another developer regardless. We chose to partner with another neighborhood developer, with a neighborhood developer that has a very strong track record and that has a very strong balance sheet.
I guess in economic times like this, where we're all living hand to mouth and wondering where money is going to come from, we're looking at you to provide us with the assurances that you as an organization who wishes to put up a building in our community that's costing $7 million has the ability to do that without creating problems in our community.
We have the ability to do that because...
That's my question to you. Can you provide us with that
No, we will not provide you. We will provide the financial institutions, including the City of Boston and the state, and the investors that will be paying for most of the cost of this building. And yet, no, you don't identify investors.
And the community has no say in understanding what your viability is. Is that what you're saying? That's outrageous.
Sir, if you bought a lot next to your house, right, and you wanted to build a new house, would I have permission to review your financials?
I am going to debate. I answered your question.
Okay.
You did not.
Number 10.
I wouldn't have the right.
I have several questions, so I'll make them real fast. What was the date of this parking survey that was done? I'd like to know that in relation to...
It was in October.
October of what year?
This year.
2013.
Has there been any environmental study done
Yes.
about children playing, so, you know, this playground area so close to train fumes and traffic fumes and lasers fumes and all of that stuff? I wouldn't want my kids playing there. Third, have you looked at how, if you're going to be attracting families, there'll be school buses coming in and out at these busy times of day, and for young children, school buses come to the exact address. And we know how busing works in Boston right now. There could conceivably be a dozen different school buses coming to pick up 5-year-olds at, you know, at the same time in the morning. And we've had problems in the past, I guess this is for the architects, with how one defines roof lines. And when we were told that roof line was 3 stories or 4 stories at X number of feet, we found out afterwards, well, this doesn't include non-living space. So you can add like 15 feet of attic or something or other above that. So what we thought we were being told was the top of the building. No, we're actually adding 15 feet above what we said. So
See the language in purple? Okay, that's the height of the building.
okay, but what I'm saying is,
That's the
past
roof line.
the height of the building.
I can answer that.
What's the word there?
So like an elevator penthouse, say for an elevator, has to be higher than the building that surrounds it. So that actually has to go higher than, no matter what height the building is, it if the elevator's gonna serve that area, they need a space on top of that elevator for the machines and et cetera, et cetera. So what the zoning code says is that a penthouse could be for a mechanical unit or for an elevator. Those would actually exceed the height. So the height is really what the top of the main roof is. It usually goes to the top of the framing of the main roof. So we wouldn't do, and I think I understand this correctly, that I think there's a maximum square footage percentage that you can have as a penthouse versus something else. So we wouldn't be able to build like a whole nother level or even half or even maybe even a tenth of the overall footprint as a penthouse. These are just little small, elevator, the size of an elevator, the size of a mechanical unit.
And
that kind of
David,
thing.
you mean, by penthouse, you mean where the elevator shaft is?
Yeah,
You don't
yeah,
mean,
use that
you
term
don't mean a
penthouse.
luxury
It's not
apartment?
It's not like, not an apartment. It's non-livable. You can't live in it. You
Okay,
can't occupy
that's what I'm
it.
saying, it's non-living space, but
Right.
in a previous project, the attic was considered non-living space, and it raised the level of the building visibly by 10 feet or something.
Maybe that, was that a roof? This is a flat roof project, so that wouldn't happen in this project. I don't know if that one had a sloped roof or.
Probably have a 3-foot guardhouse on top of it for your elevator on by.
Right. It'll be very small compared to the rest of the room.
Matt, we appear to be videotaping without permission. Isn't that an
This is a
invasion
public
of our
meeting, sir.
privacy?
It's a public
No,
meeting.
It's an invasion of our privacy. We were not told there would be any videotaping going on in this room, and you're videotaping us. And I resent that, and I think you should be ejected from the meeting.
I'm videotaping a public meeting, sir, that's all.
No, sir. No, sir. He has no right to be
Clear that with
videotaping.
anyone before, with the authority saw it. I would ask you to
How
please
dare you.
stop that.
Tim, why don't you?